We all kinda knew that, but I will tell you why. First, am I anti-feminist? No, I think the idea that life should suck for everyone equally is pretty cool. But did you know, because I didn't, that there are certain strands of feminism that use psychoanalysis? Psychoanalytic feminism is a theory of oppression that asserts that men have an inherent psychological need to subjugate women. The root of men's compulsion to dominate women and women's minimal resistance to subjugation lies deep within the human psyche. Nature versus nurture debate solved, I guess. Also, what the fuck? I'm sure their creativity, unimpeded by peer reviews of this pseudoscience, is entirely applicable to how the world works. With the help of ideas of Lacan, the psychoanalysts completely threw away the idea that reality is knowable. I mean, there can be a limit to what the human mind can discover, but we shouldn't leave that for the psychoanalysts to determine. Or psychologists. Or even philosophers. I gotta admire the ego. I cannot know the true nature of reality, therefore, reality is unknowable. It's quite the intellect we have here. Karl Popper, the critical rationalist who gave us philosophy of science as we know it today, dismissed Freud's ideas as unfalsifiable pseudoscience. Now, I think that should have been enough, but it wasn't. Okay, psychoanalysis gave us the notion that doctors should listen to their patients. Great. Why was that groundbreaking though? It got into film theory with the notion of the male gaze. The first one to articulate this idea was Laura Mulvey in her essay Visual Pleasure and Narrative Cinema in 1975. Psychoanalytic theory is thus appropriate here as a political weapon, demonstrating the way the unconscious of patriarchal society has structured film form. It is said that analyzing pleasure or beauty destroys it. That is the intention of this article. She claims it would be awesome to get rid of oppressive norms and to create a new language of desire. By the end of her essay, however, she offers no alternatives. Now, to be fair to her essay, despite her attempts at politicizing the issue, to the degree that what she says is even discernible, she just means that there are three choices of camera angles: the main protagonist, who is male, the audience, or a third-person point of view. And it very often chooses the male point of view, which of course centers the female body in particular ways. With movies tailored to the male gaze, women had two choices: either to give in and watch the movies as the guy would, or consciously detach themselves from this point of view. And the setting in which people watch movies gives them liberty to behave differently. Laura Mulvey called this voyeuristic separation. There are actual studies showing people look at others differently if they know the other person is not going to know they were being watched, so okay. I can't get over the fact that she chose a movie about a literal peeping Tom, an obsessive man, and a disturbed man who wants to rescue a disturbed woman to analyze reality. Maybe she just didn't like Hitchcock, who, by the way, was quite aware that his movies were surreal and not depicting reality. So I think that using his movies to describe how the world works is quite dishonest. Now, unrelated to that, one of the many things women want, or may want, is to be an object of desire. There is a happy ending to the mystery of the male gaze, in the form of a simple explanation for how old movies looked. Context, which I found in another work of hers, published a few decades later. Early cinema had primarily female audience. Why the male gaze then? Well, there was another thing happening parallel with that. The capitalists realized that since the women are emancipating themselves by, for example, entering the workforce, that means they have disposable income now. And with their ingenuity motivated by personal profit, the beauty industry was getting the form we know today. What better way to get the money of the women than to show them how they should look? Laura Mulvey tells the reader of the other essay, the one that did not get famous, in retrospect, it seems that early feminist film theory may have overinvested in the psychic structures of cinematic pleasure, especially the specificity of the male gaze. Thanks! You could have just said that. But she gives credit to these early feminist theorists for noticing that the entertainment industry is heavily sexualized. What I don't get is why they ever needed some discredited theories to argue their point. I'm grateful that I grew up watching stuff that had incredible women in it. And it would be cool if there were more. So more inspiring and liberating stuff is needed. Cool. Yes. But to pathologize men looking, existing, feeling, that's just evil. I found an interesting study where they tried to see if there is any correlation between objectifying behavior, in both men and women by the way, and certain opinions and attitudes. Pornography use did not correlate with how people looked at the human pictures in the test. However, in women, it correlated with how much they were making themselves sexualized. When asked whose bodies the participants looked at closely, 51% of men said it was towards women only. However, 26% of women said it was towards men only. So there are significant gender correlations in how people look at others and not just sexual orientation. Oh yeah, women do this. If you tend to overfocus on people's bodies in instances where those bodies are not even stylized in a way that would invite a certain kind of look, well then they found a non-negligible correlation that you are more likely to blame victims of SA and are also more likely to become a victim of SA yourself. Women who pervasively gazed at men's bodies were more likely to think that women are responsible for SA. Explicit forms of sexual objectification are linked to higher levels of anxiety and lower self-esteem. Being objectified apparently impairs women's cognitive performance. When you are being objectified, you are very likely to begin to self-objectify. However, only to the degree to which you have internalized the unrealistic beauty standards imposed on us by our beloved culture. That's it, that's the end of the video, bye.